All right. We once again will be challenged to create two NGINX servers in a bastion host. And we will be tasked with doing this where one NGINX server is a reverse proxy that forwards traffic to another NGINX server that displays some sort of custom HTML page. But we are going to do it with a click of a button or one command in our terminal, all right, instead of setting everything up manually, okay? And we're going to use Terraform to do it, all right? How does Terraform work? Let's go ahead and go to the documentation and take a look. So Terraform is made by HashiCorp, where I happen to work, which is pretty cool. And you can automate infrastructure on any cloud with Terraform, okay? So we will need to first download Terraform, and then we'll need to use it. So let's go ahead and get started with downloading Terraform. So I have a Mac, so I'm going to go ahead and follow this. If you have any other type of system, such as a Windows or Linux, go ahead and follow the way that it tells you to. I'm going to bring up my Terraform. You can see that I went ahead and installed some of the things that we're about to install because I want to make sure I'm starting right from the beginning. I'm actually going to open up a new window just to start from the very beginning. All right. So I'm going to say brew tap HashiCorp /tap. All right. And then I'm going to let it run. It's asking me for my keychain password, which I'm hoping is just my login password. All right, cool. And I'm going to say brew install HashiCorp /tap /Terraform. And then I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to have Terraform. Gonna wait for it to install. Perfect. All right, so now I should be able to say like Terraform version. And I have Terraform installed. Yay! All right. So the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to open up a VS Code. This is the VS Code for my website. I'm going to open up a new window and I'm going to add it here. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a new file and just do a text file and then nope. I'm going to actually, let's go ahead. I'm going to pull this up so you don't look at all my files, but I am going to create a new folder. I'm going to call my folder Terraform challenge, like I'm going to call it deploy in public. So DIP Terraform 1. Right now I'm going to go ahead and open DIP Terraform 1 and open it up. So now we have our folder. You can see that, and I will note that I did already write a Terraform module for this. I'm not using it right now. I'm not like going to watch it in code. I'm going to kind of do it from scratch, but I did want to make sure we could get all the way through the challenge. So if it takes you a little bit longer than it's taking me, that's okay. I literally just did this challenge, not recorded, but I'm going to still try to walk through everything and look up the docs as I go. All right. So now let's go ahead and create a file. And I'm going to go over to the kind of getting started. So let's go to next steps, getting started AWS. And you can see that there's some tutorials there. And these tutorials are actually pretty helpful. You can see like you'll learn what infrastructure as code is, you'll learn how to install, and then you'll learn how to build. So here's creating an EC2 instance under the AWS free tier. So that's actually similar to what we want to do. And you can see there's a 3-minute and 55-second video where they go over it. All right. And this is helpful too, because now you can see that we have some prerequisites. So we need an AWS account and associated credentials to let us create resources. and we need the AWS CLI installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in AWS CLI, and I'm going to go and look for how to install it. Okay, AWS CLI, what does that mean? So that means that we are going to install a CLI that we can use to communicate with AWS from our terminal. And that way we can kind of log into an account from our terminal and use it. All right, so let's open up the Mac OS because I have a Mac. And I'm curious if I can do brew install AWS CLI. Okay, it looks like I can, so I'm going to go ahead and copy it. Oops, don't need Zoom open. And I'm going to paste it in. While it's doing that, I'm going to go back and read this Medium article about installing AWS CLI using Homebrew to get a little bit of context. All right, so brew update, brew install AWS CLI, and then we're going to check the AWS version. And then we need to configure AWS, which will include our AWS access key and our secret access key, default region, and output format. Okay, so when I run this command, it's going to ask me for all of these things. All right, let's open our terminal again. It's still creating it. So what we need to do is we need to go find our AWS access key and secret access key. All right, we already know our default region, which is going to be US East 1. Okay. An output format. I'm curious what we'll do for output format. Probably just whatever the default is, to be honest. All right, so the way that you can get your secret access keys is by clicking on your role in the top corner, and then you should see security credentials when you go here. But we don't see that. That's because we used the IAM Identity Center to create our user, and we checked the box that when we created it, if you followed my video, that we wanted to use console access. All right, console access means I'm going to log into the AWS console, all right, and I'm going to do everything manually. But now we don't just want console access. We want to be able to actually take our credentials and use AWS CLI with those credentials and then use Terraform, okay? So we're going to need to create a new role for this, or a new user for this, okay? So right now I have no users in the IAM center, or this is not the other identity center, all right? So we're going to create username, and then we're going to put in a username. So I'm going to say coding with Callie, and then dash Callie Stroska. Provide user access. So you can see the check here that this is optional. If you're providing console access to a person, it's best practice to manage their access in IAM Identity Center. So this is going to create the user in the Identity Center, which is what's recommended, and that's what's going to do the create access. But I want to create an IAM user so that way I can enable programmatic access through access keys. Okay, so I want the IAM user. I'm going to go ahead and do a custom password. No, I'll do an auto-generated password, and then users must create a new password at the next sign-in. That's fine. All right, and then I'm going to click next. All right, so now I'm going to add users to a group. Copy permissions or attach policies directly. And I'm going to attach a policy directly, and I'm going to attach the administrator access here. And then I'm going to go ahead and click next. You can also see that there's already one attached entity, which is going to be our administrator access, which is what we're on right now. All right, so you can see that my permissions is going to be administrator access and IAM user change password. So I'm creating a user. This time I'm creating an IAM user, and the reason why I'm doing that is so I can access AWS programmatically and not just in the console. So I'm going to click create user, and you can see that I have my username, I have my console signing URL, and my console password. All right. Now I'm going to pull this to my other monitor because I'm dealing with passwords now. But what I'm doing is I'm copying the console sign-in URL and I'm pasting it into the browser. And I'll show you this in a second once I have this all figured out. And then I'm going to put in my username. It's asking for the IAM username, which is coding with Kali, CWC dash Kali Stoscup. All right. Then it's asking me for my password. Which is interesting. I'm going to sign. In doing that, I just went to sign in and it kicked me out. So now I'm going to have to get back in to do this. I am going to pause here and I will resume filming once I get back into my account and set my password, and then I'll show you what's going on. All right. I don't know how, but somehow when I pulled it to another tab, it logged me out of AWS and I hadn't reset the password yet. So I had no idea what it was. So I had to go in and reset my password. But anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to go to AWS to sign in. And instead of root user, we can finally use IAM user. And instead of that, we're going to put in our account number, which is going to be, I'm copying it from another tag or another tab in another window if you can't tell. And then we're going to click next. And then here we're going to put in our IAM username, which mine is going to be coding with Kali Stoscup. And then I'm going to create login. And now you can see that I'm logged in under my username. And now you can see that I have security credentials, which is very exciting. All right, so I'm going to next, now that I have AWS CLI installed, I'm going to type in AWS CLI configure, which did not work. So let's do AWS CLI dash version. All right, let's go back to over here. Oh, it's just AWS. Silly me. AWS dash version. All right, and we got a version, so I think that means we're good in terms of installing, and then we can go to AWS configure. And now it's going to ask for our access key ID. All right, so this is how you're going to find your access key ID. So you're going to go over here and you're going to click on security credentials, and then let me go ahead and pull this once again to another tab so I don't show any credentials I'm not supposed to. All right, and then you're going to see when you go to this page, you're going to see if you scroll down, okay, you don't see anything. So if you scroll down, you're going to see access key, and then you're going to click on create access key. And then here it's going to tell you what you want. So I want to be able to use the command line interface. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to say I understand the above recommended. Oh, interesting. So it looks like I could also have added this to my IAM Identity Center users. So if anyone wants to try that, go ahead and do it and then let me know. And it looks like there's another browser-based CLI. I don't really want to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and say I understand and click next. All right, then you can go ahead and set a description tag. I'm now going to actually hide my screen because I don't know what's going to pop up on the next one. And I'm going to set my description tag before I do that as coding with Kali, deploy in public, and create access key. So now on my AWS CLI, it's asking for the access key ID, and it's right in front of me in my face. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in and click enter. Now it's asking for my AWS secret access key. And once I created the access key, it's like the only two things on the page. So don't be too super concerned if you can't see what I'm doing. I just don't want to show my passwords. Now it's asking me for my default region name. So I'm going to do US-East-1. And then default output format. I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to see, it doesn't really seem like it says anything. So let's go ahead and over here, we're going to say AWS CLI, what to put for default output format. And we see that we have this. So it looks like there's an output option in the config file. All right, I'm going to leave it. It looks like, I think output is going to be, and you know what? I'm just going to send it and I'm going to say JSON. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Okay. But it looks like it's pretty easy to reconfigure it if you do. All right. So now I am all set to use AWS. All right.